he said. "Born in Berlin on November the 9th, 1918. Do you deny this?" She closed the passport and pushed it back at him, fighting to control her panic. "My name is Hannah Winter, but I am an American citizen. The American embassy will confirm this. The Reich does not acknowledge the right of its citizens to change nationalities to suit their inclinations. You were born a German. I confidently predict you will die one." The streets were deserted, and they drove very fast, so that already they were into the city and moving down toward the river. He said, "An interesting city, Lisbon. To get into any foreign embassy, it's necessary to pass through a Portuguese police checkpoint. So, if you tried to get into either the British or American embassies, we would still have got you." She said, "I don't understand. When I asked to be admitted, the man on the gate said he'd have to check with headquarters. It's simple. The Portuguese police have accepted an extradition warrant to be served on Hannah Winter on a charge of murder. Murder 3 times over. In fact, they've agreed to expedite the matter." "But you're not the police." "Oh, but we are. Not the Portuguese variety, but something rather more interesting." He was speaking in German now. "Sturmbannführer Kleiber of the Berlin office of the Gestapo. My colleague, Sturmscharführer Gunther Sindermann." It was like something out of a nightmare, and yet the tiredness she felt was overwhelming, so that nothing seemed to matter any more. "What happens now?" she asked dully. Kleiber switched off the lights so that they were in darkness again. "Oh, we'll take you home," he said. "Back to Berlin. Don't worry, we'll look after you." His hand was on her knee, sliding up over the silk stocking to her thigh. It was his biggest single mistake, for the disgust his actions engendered galvanized her into life again. She fumbled for the handle of the door, holding her breath as his hand moved higher. The Mercedes slowed to allow a water cart to pass. She shoved Kleiber away with all her strength, pushed open the door, and scrambled into the darkness, losing her balance, rolling over twice. The shock effect was considerable, and when she got to her feet, she had to lean against the wall for a moment. The Mercedes had pulled up farther along the street and started to reverse. She had lost one of her shoes, but there was nothing to be done about that. She kicked off the other, plunged into the nearest alley, and started to run. A few moments later, she emerged onto the waterfront. It was still raining heavily, and a considerable fog rolled in from the Tagus, and street lamps were few and far between. There seemed to be no shops, no houses, simply tall, gaunt warehouses rising into the night. As the fog closed in around her, it was as if she was the only person in the world, and then she heard the sound of her pursuers echoing between the walls of the alley behind her. She started to run again, lightly in stockinged feet. She was cold, very cold, and then a light appeared dimly in the fog on the other side of the street backing onto the river. A red neon sign said Joe Jackson's, and underneath, American Bar. She hurried across, filled with desperate hope, but there was no light inside, and the glass doors were locked. She rattled them furiously in helpless rage. There was a wharf at the side of the building, another door with a light above it marked Stage. She tried that, too, hammering on it with her fists, and then Kleiber ran around the corner, a Luger in his left hand. "I'll teach you," he said softly, "little Jewish bitch." As Sindermann arrived, she turned and ran along the wharf into the fog. Joe Jackson had dark, wavy hair, pale face, hazel-green eyes, and a slight ironic quirk that seemed to permanently lift the corner of his mouth, the weary, detached smile of a man who had found life more corrupt than he had hoped. He always closed Mondays. For one thing, it gave everyone a night off, and for another, there was little trade to be had at the beginning of the week. It gave him a chance at the books in peace and quiet, which was what he was doing when Hannah first rattled the front door. A drunk, he thought, looking for another drink, and returned to his accounts. A moment later, he heard her at the side door. He was aware of a murmur of voices, and then a sharp cry. He opened the right-hand drawer of the desk and took out a Browning automatic, got to his feet, and moved out of the office.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.